Hey everyone, Ben's here for Broke Protocol 1.0, and today we're going to teach you how to create your own mods. This video is just going to cover the asset bundle creation process to edit existing or create new assets for your Broke Protocol server or offline game or whatever. It's not going to cover server-side scripting or client scripting or anything like that. That'll come later. And to get into it, you just need to download the Unity editor, which you can just Google and find here for just about any platform. Just the free version is okay to start off with. Download it here, and once you have your Unity hub or whatever, make sure you just get the latest official release. Broke Protocol is usually kept up to the latest official patch. Don't worry about the alphas or betas. Those are untested for now. And once you're in the Unity hub, you're going to create a new project. Make sure you have 3D selected here. You can name it whatever. We'll just name it modding test for today and create. All right, now we're in the Unity editor. The first thing you're going to want to do with a new project is to import the Broke Protocol Resources Unity package. This will be in the base game folder, which you'll usually find in your Steam apps directory somewhere. You're going to have to find that on your local system. So just click on that, open, and it'll decompress the package. There's a lot of files here, so it might take a while. And we're going to want to reuse this project for creating all of our mods or assets so we don't have to import again and again. So I'll come back to you after it's done loading. Now at the package list window, you're going to want to make sure you have all selected. Mine will look a little bit different because I made a few updates before and imported this package beforehand. But if we do release a new game update with new items in the future, you can just re-import the BP resources package into your Unity project, and it will automatically detect and update what's new, what's different, and handle all of that pretty much automatically. So again, make sure you have all selected and import. Okay, so we have our Unity package imported. We have all of our files here. A quick run through. Asset Bundles browser. This allows us to actually export any mods we make right here. None have been created yet, so it's empty. Next, we have our character model. And this just allows easy animation because everything it's already rigged up, and you can mod certain animations or add new ones if you want. Moving on. Editor, you can just ignore. It just sets up the editor environment for you to match the game, including layers and tags and stuff. Here we have basically different types of assets, and these are just examples to show you how you should be importing any custom models, meshes, textures, or something like that. Some of these settings are pretty important, so try to match them to the examples I provide here. Pretty important one is read-write enabled. It's important for the world builder, and maybe for textures you want to use point filter to kind of match the artistic style of the stock assets. Normally for the game we use the standard shaders, so yeah, again, some important settings you want to keep an eye out for, and try to follow the examples as close as possible. The export prefabs are basically all the objects, weapons, vehicles, boats, whatever, that are available in the game. And you can either mod these directly or use them as a base to create your own mods for. I recommend not changing these exactly because you don't want to corrupt your beautiful modding project. You can just duplicate them, and I'll show you how to do that later, and then mod them however you like and export your modded assets instead of changing the default assets. Resources, is a little bit different because these are all like the static objects, like buildings, roads, any kind of environment asset. These don't have any scripts attached. You can see it's just mesh and rendering and colliders and stuff, so they're a little bit simpler than the actual prefabs and entities here. Moving on, this is just a stock item, stock scene, and scripts basically allow you to edit the prefabs, like the rate to fire on guns or how much health a human has. So these are pretty important. You don't want to mod these directly. You want to mod the properties on the prefabs, which I'll show you next. So if you want to create a new item and you don't know where to start, a good place is to find a similar item to what you want to make. Maybe you want to make a new kind of vehicle, so you start off with something similar, or a gun, so you start off with an AK and then just edit these properties. I don't know, let's start off with binoculars and make something kind of in the same class. So yeah, sure, we can edit these directly, but we would kind of ruin our default package of stock assets. So let's drag this into the scene to make a new instance. And again, you're probably wondering, where is the mesh? Where's the model? And I don't actually ship the Unity package with the models or textures or anything. If you export this as is with the current default stock name, it will automatically find the default mesh, the default texture for binoculars in game when you actually load it. This is kind of on purpose. I want people to make their own art, their own assets if they're going to mod the game. But if you just want to modify the properties, you don't need to add any material or model. It will automatically load itself, all the art assets in game, if you keep the stock name. But if you do create a new item, and everything is based on the game object name, so if something already exists in game, it will overwrite the stock asset with your new meshes or materials or properties you set. But if you change the name, for example, if you want to rename this cardiac sensor or something, it will create a new item, a new custom asset that you can find in your world builder, and it will be a new asset synced to all connecting players. So yeah, here's our new item. After you click enter, it'll take the new name, and let's add some mesh and materials to our item. So if we go here, we can find an example mesh that I loaded with the Unity package here, and again, it's going to be purple unless you add a texture. So let's add our example material, and yeah, that's a little weird. Let's see what's going on. So if we go here, and you can see our texture is actually blank, so we can drag our simple items texture here, and now we have our creepy little cardiac sensor asset ready. Now, the default position and rotation of this item is how it will be placed in the player's hand when it's loaded in game as an equipped item. So yeah, the reason why it's kind of off kilter like this is because it's set up for the binoculars item, but we're not going to be using that. Now, to hold it in your hand like a kind of two-handed weapon, you're going to want to find another two-handed weapon in the export prefabs directory. So we know the defibrillator object is a two-handed weapon, so we can just copy that item, if I could find it. Defib, where are you? Here you are. And then we just copy the transform of the defibrillator object, come back to our cardiac sensor and paste it here. Paste component values. And now it should show up in our player model's hands correctly because it's the same transform as the defibrillator. And it's actually the same mesh, so this should work out fine. And there's a few more options, a few more properties we need to change, of course, like the item name. So we can change that to cardiac sensor. And this is the name shown in shops and player inventories. We might want to make it more expensive. Let's see, anything else? And of course, the binoculars doesn't match what this is, so we have to change this to like a two-handed object. And of course, binoculars is going to have a crazy zoom, so we really don't need that. We can actually lower that to just 1 or 2 or somewhere about there. What else? Again, the other stuff you don't really need. It's obviously going to be heavier than binoculars, so maybe 3 kilograms is okay. And I think that pretty much covers it. Now, the next step we need to do is actually save this instance as a prefab. And the way we do that is, it doesn't matter where you put it, but we can just drag and drop it into our assets folder. And then we'll make an original prefab. Oh, and one more thing I just about forgot. If you select the gizmos thing here, you can actually see our collider doesn't actually match our object because it's still based on the binoculars stock asset we modded off of. So to fix this, it's really easy. You can just remove this box collider and then add a new one. So if we find the box collider, the default size should auto fit whatever asset we put in based on the mesh size. Yeah, since we're modifying the instance here, we need to actually apply that back to our prefab asset here. Now, if we come back here, we can create a new asset bundle. It doesn't really matter what you name it. And you can actually load more than one item into a single asset bundle. I mean, it is a bundle. So sometimes this window is a little bugged, so you can come back here and create a new bundle here as well. But here, again, we have our asset bundle, and it will automatically add any dependent assets to our original mod. So obviously our cardiac sensor needs a material, needs a model, and it'll automatically include that and sync that with connecting clients so everyone can see and play with our cool new meshes. And again, here's our material and here's the entire object. And now we're actually ready to build. So head over to build and click on browse. Actually, we're going to want to output to our asset bundles directory. Select that folder. Check here. I guess standard compression is okay. And yeah, mostly I just use these default settings. And build. Now, the build time depends on how many assets you have and what you have going on. But if we check our folder, here we have our asset bundle, and it's 57 kilobytes, which is pretty small, and every client connecting to your server will get this cardiac sensor item. So let's see if it actually shows up in game. And the game will load every asset in the asset bundle folders automatically. So if you don't want something, make sure you pull that out of there. And let's see, the custom directory should have our new item here. And here we see the texture works, or the collider bounds are correct, and the name and everything is working. That's it, folks. Happy modding, and yeah. And by the way, the workshop now fully supports mods, including script mods and asset bundles too. So you would just upload this cardiac sensor item into the Steam Workshop, and other players can see your item there too. And that's it. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.